back to yet another episode of Why Well Known Date These Guys with Naomi Guy and
Joel Guy. I think I know the answer, and the answer is we're really bad at audio. And
No.
We just spent 20 minutes first sitting in silence waiting for the other person to be ready without realizing we were both ready. And then Naomi's microphone wasn't working. It was a red LED instead of a green one, and it was muted on the audio recording.
all I had to do was press a
research,
button.
And then all she had to do was press a button to unmute it, and I kind of slapped my forehead and exasperatedly groaned. And then we started recording while Naomi poured drinks, and it wasn't actually recording both of our audio tracks. It's been a morning, y'all. You know what?
It's only like 9:45 in the morning.
We're both tired. We've been working hard this week. I think that's fair. But before we get into details on that, we are a podcast on sex, love, and relationships among the millennials, Zoomers, and Gen Alpha, which I guess they're like a year old now.
No. The whole point of this podcast was for me to be the Zoomer perspective, you to be the millennial perspective. Do we need to bring in a third Gen Alpha?
We need to bring in like a
5-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. Naomi, let's try a drink for the day. Ooh. Not as good as the other one.
Yeah. What flavor is this?
We are drinking Trader Joe's Via Italia Italian grapefruit soda. Tastes like grapefruit, red grapefruit. Not bad at all.
Yeah.
Very pleasant. But the other one we tried, it was
I feel like it had more
tangerine.
flavor.
Yeah. I mean, I like grapefruit juice, but I don't know. I just don't like it as much
It's
as
like
the other
a
one.
tiny step up from a LaCroix. That's what I think it is. Like it's sparkling, but it like doesn't have enough flavor to it.
This would be good in like a cocktail. It's the base of a fancy cocktail.
I'm waiting for the
A little
lemon to
more
kick in.
club-suited. Thank you, Naomi. That's my line. Naomi, anything exciting happened in your life this week?
Well, I'm going to go meet my special man friend's family this weekend.
Ooh.
Yeah. We're gonna go to San Diego and do that. Just like a quick 2-day trip. I've been working like most of this week nannying because I got a new job. So that's been exhausting. Joel, what's up with you this week?
4 13 to 14 hour days. Not pleasant. Kind of hate it. Boy, it takes a lot out of me, and I have so much respect for people who work 60 plus hours a week and keep it all together. Yeah,
No,
it kind of
they
sucks.
don't. They just
Especially
fake
because
it.
my schedule this week was 5 a.m. to 6. I mean, hypothetically, I ended at 6. I was leaving at 7:30 a couple of days. Yeah, it's frustrating because you get home and you really don't feel like doing anything but sleeping. And yeah, I can't do much in terms of personal life when that's the case, especially when you're trying to get holiday shopping and last minute stuff done.
Oh my God, the holidays are coming.
Yes, this is, I thought, a holiday themed episode given the seasonality of the topic.
No,
Call me
like
crazy.
you know, like it's coming because like it's December, right? And then it just like
So I've been told.
it just comes so quickly, and it's the 17th, and it's just here. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Joel, what are we talking about today?
I wanted to talk about relationship goals. Hashtag relationship goals. Hashtag date these guys.
Wait, what was that? It was like it was like one true pairing, OTP. Do you remember that?
No.
Okay, so when like in the early days of social media, in the early days of me being on social media, it was like Instagram. So like 2013, 2014, there was hashtag OTP, which was one true pairing. So it's kind of like your soulmate. So it's like a bunch of like social media influencers that like got with their like significant other and they'd say hashtag OTP. So I don't know why I brought that up.
I couldn't tell you either. If this is the type of content you subscribe to our podcast for, please let us know in the comment section. We really need some feedback. For all we know, you're here. Okay, let's back up a second. Before we get into the topic,
Yeah.
I was looking at some stats for analytics this week.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, the top 3 episodes we have in terms of most listens are our intro episode.
Yeah.
Which is that very like quick, hey guys, we're doing the podcast. The second, I think, is your introduction where you talk about what you're looking for. So there's a lot of like perverts out there who are trying to get in your good graces. And the third episode, which really hits home that there's a bunch of perverts out there, is our sex work and prostitution episode.
It really is?
Yeah, by like, I would say there's like 30% more views on those episodes than any other
I thought
episode.
consent was our top episode.
Maybe it used to be.
I really liked our consent episode. If you haven't listened to it already, go listen to our consent episode.
Yeah, our sex ed episodes do not make numbers. We think they're important, but I don't think anyone's subscribed. They're here to listen to our dirty laundry. For that matter, neither do our
That's
current
really
events
true.
episodes. So maybe we need to move away from those in the future. Unclear. But yes, today I want to talk about relationship goals. And what did I mean by that exactly? It's my belief, and you can feel free to chime in if you disagree, that healthy relationships have individuals within them that experience personal growth and don't stagnate. And that's a very loaded phrase because, like, obviously there's situations where you have a relationship and, like, one partner gets cancer or whatever, and the other partner, like, look, I know you're giving me a look, but, like, one partner, like, has to take care of them. And
Yeah.
they don't have an opportunity to grow and improve. And that's, like,
Yeah.
perfectly understandable. But I think a lot of people in, like, what you might consider the average relationship are like, I've done my dues. I've been an interesting, compelling person. And now, I've finally managed to hook a partner. I no longer have to continue being interesting and compelling. And I think that's really where relationship stagnation comes in. And there's a lot of reasons this can occur. It can be laziness. It can be like you grow and get new jobs and it prevents you from doing as much as you used to out in the community. It could be that, your personal tastes change over time and, you decide you no longer care about art or travel or whatever it is you used to do that made you happy. But I do think that people tend to do less things as they get older. That's a general trend that I've noticed. And I also have noticed, if you read the stats on like happiness and relationships, some of the happiest people are those who have been in a relationship for a while and have seen personal growth from their partner and grown along with them. So it's my personal opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, that it is important in a relationship to set goals for improvement. And given that the New Year's is coming up, I thought it was worth talking about personal goals we have as well as relationship goals we have. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying. I do think that you're correct that like there's stagnation in relationships and it doesn't always create the best atmosphere for like two people working towards I think my personal belief is that two people come together and like have a romantic like relationship, a friendship, a like all these things combined, not just like individually. And they're working towards like being the like and bettering themselves all the time. I think that toxic relationships are kind of like depending on the other person
Absolutely. Yeah.
and like depending on them for their happiness, depending on the other person to like motivate them. I think that it's a good idea to like be with someone that like motivates you, but you can't get all of your motivation from the other person. So I understand what you're saying, but I also think that it's not always completely possible to be consistently changing and getting out of ruts. And because like sometimes people there's mental illnesses and there's financial hardships, there's family situations, stuff like that. And I don't think that it's completely always possible.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but simultaneously, I'm not trying to create a guide that covers every situation. I don't think our dating advice
think we
applies
should.
to
I'm
every
just kidding.
situation. And I think it's important to provide insights that work for people who are in like emotionally like solid relationships right now.
Yeah.
Like we can also do guides that are like, hey, if you're having mental health crises or whatever, here's what you can do. But I don't know how helpful that is because like obviously there's a lot that goes into mental health care.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that we can't easily unpack in an hour-long podcast episode. So assuming that you are mentally well, that you are financially secure, even not necessarily because a lot of things we're going to talk about don't require money in this episode. I think this will be useful for living a happy life with your potential future long-term partner. So, I did want to talk a little bit about the common mistakes that lead to boredom in a relationship. There was an article in Bustle by Carolyn Stepper from May 19th, 2021, where she cites a number of therapists and doctors talking about some of the things they've noticed that lead to boredom. And I want you to notice if there's any common themes here. I think there's a common theme, at least one. Maybe you notice more or you disagree with my assessment. So number one is you only have surface level conversations. Couples talk about the day, the weather, and what they did at work, but never go any deeper than that. According to therapist Cohen, it's a habit that can easily create a sense of disconnect and even boredom because you're never talking about anything new. If you've fallen into this rut, it'll help to ask each other more open-ended questions as a way to have conversations about meaningful issues and topics you haven't necessarily covered before. While you can't expect to get deep and philosophical every single day, you can prevent boredom by having better convos on a more regular basis. Number 2 would be stop making an effort. Another common mistake is thinking a relationship will naturally continue in a positive direction. The truth is that all relationships take consistent work and input to remain vital and satisfying. Rafi Bilek, a relationship counselor and director of Baltimore Therapy Center, says, even if you're happy, you can't sit back and coast. Instead, it's important to invest energy into each other by talking more, supporting each other, and checking in. Do these things and it'll help your relationship stay fulfilling and happy. Any disagreements so far? Both of those things seem pretty obvious to me.
Yeah.
Number 3, you put off personal goals. Of course, while investing in a relationship takes a lot of time and energy, it doesn't mean you should forget about or put off your personal goals. In fact, if you're not pushing for the kind of life you want to live, you will get bored, Dr. Josh Klappauer, clinical psychologist, tells Bustle. Do you want to go to grad school, write a book, travel more often? Don't forget about your goals just because you have a partner. If you have something you're working towards, it'll help keep life interesting, and that will in turn keep your relationship interesting. I think that's important too, because like if your partner is deeply opposed to you pursuing your goals,
I think
that could be
such a red flag. Yeah.
Now, I think there could be situations where someone's like, I want to travel, and their version of travel is spending their life savings and depleting their accounts. And I can understand if a partner would want to push back. But in general, if you casually bring up to your partner, hey, I'm thinking going back to night school, taking some classes. Hey, I'm going to go do some art with some friends.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to start hiking more in the coming year. And they're like deeply discouraging of that. That can mean they don't want you to improve and be happy.
Okay, reverse the roles. I've also seen one person pushing the other to do more, and the person person A pushing person B to do something more, but person B resisting and saying, no, I need to put more time and effort into the relationship.
I don't know what that means. What does that mean to you?
Okay, so I've seen this like among my friends. They think that like their relationship is gonna go like super far and like they're gonna get married and they're gonna have children together. So they're like, obviously, I'm gonna put off my personal goals because this is my first priority. Marrying this person, having children with this person is my first priority. So I'm gonna go out of my way to make sure that my personal goals happen later in life if they ever happen, and I'm gonna put this relationship first and foremost in my mind.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I do know how I feel about that, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
But like, I can understand the intention there. I don't know. My perspective is this. It doesn't hurt having a backup plan. And
no,
that sounds,
it never does.
That sounds bad, but like, people change over time.
Yeah.
We've discussed this. Even people's like sexualities can sometimes alter over time. So like, the odds are not bulletproof. The odds are not 100% you're going to remain in a committed relationship with one person your entire life. Sorry, that's just the way things work out. It's totally possible you go years before realizing there's something fundamentally incompatible with another person.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't want to have kids, or you really, really wanted to have kids. Maybe your idea of handling finances was completely different than the other person. Maybe you wanted to live closer to your parents and they wanted to live in Hawaii, right? Like, there are some big things that need to be worked out. And I think a lot of like strong relationships can work through these things and sacrifices can be made. But again, the idea that you would put all of your energy, all your colloquial eggs in one basket.
And you're saying it as if they need a backup plan. I don't even think it needs to be a backup plan. Like, you should be an individual. You shouldn't be a couple first. You should be an individual in the relationship in order to have get the most out of yourself and then go into the relationship. That's my fundamental thoughts about relationship.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I don't, again, that's kind of where my mind is. At the same time, though, I'm skeptical of anybody pushing kind of an individualist philosophy. I think more and more what the world needs is people who are constantly looking out for each other and doing things for the groups of people they care about in their community. And often a lot of people who don't want changes made in the world, who don't want people to be happy and secure, push an individualist philosophy. So you think you have to be responsible for everything and can't ever rely on people. I think there's a middle ground. I think there is too.
And what I'm trying to say is you don't need an individualist ideology about everything in your life, literally just relationships, to ensure that you are making sure that you are okay first.
Yeah, okay.
Before
Yeah, I can
stepping
agree
into
with
a
that.
relationship.
We've discussed this before, and you're going to run into situations where someone's like, if you leave me, I will kill myself.
Yep.
And that's fucked up. That's a deeply fucked up for that person to say. And ultimately, I would say if you're in that situation, you should leave because they're using manipulation to get what they want, and you can't be responsible for the happiness and or life outcomes of others. You can do your utmost. You can try real hard, but yeah.
But it's going to take more out of you than you're going to get
Put your
out of
mask on first when the oxygen
it.
things come down.
Exactly.
Okay, so other things that make relationships boring, you do literally everything together. Loving your partner and wanting to spend every day with them is good, but that doesn't mean you should make an effort. You shouldn't make an effort to peel yourself apart and do your own thing, even if it means sitting at home alone. When you spend the vast majority of that time with one person, it's easy to get tired of being with them, Jonathan Bennett, a certified counselor and co-founder of Double Trust Dating, says. If you take some time apart, you'll appreciate the time you do spend with your partner more. Number 6, you don't hang out often enough. Of course, it all depends on your personal situation, but if you've been feeling bored in a relationship, it may also be a sign you aren't doing enough together. And that's where things like shared hobbies come into play. A good remedy might be taking turns doing something the other person enjoys, Williamson says. You get to enjoy the partner and their element, and they may even find something new that you enjoy. Number 7, you don't talk about your feelings. It may be tempting to hide the fact you're having a bad day, maybe because you seem too busy to talk, or afraid your partner doesn't want to hear it, or because you want to seem easygoing. That's yet another mistake that can lead to detachment and boredom over time. When we are vulnerable with others, we create a deeper bond with them, especially if they respond in validating to us opening up, Williamson says. So work on opening up more often, not only to get things off your chest, but to feel closer and more connected to your partner. If it's a struggle, chat with your therapist about why you don't want to share. You may find that, once you're practiced opening up, your relationship feels brand new. I'll skip through the last couple of these. I don't think are too different. Number 8 is you always go going to the same places, like a coffee shop or favorite restaurant. Number 9 is you never argue. Don't know how I feel about that, but the argument there is you should be able to speak your mind. You shouldn't let stuff fester. You should have discussions about things. Number 10 is you stop flirting with each other, stop being playful, stop doing the things that maybe you initially attracted the other person to in the first place. Number 11, you forget to go on dates, having variety and fun. Number 12, you ignore each other, not checking in and feeling present. Number 13, you expect boredom to go away. Number 14, you don't address hurt feelings. Number 15, you expect the honeymoon phase to last forever. And 16, you don't listen to each other. So I think a couple of those are similar, but the general theme that I saw is people like novelty, people like difference, people like changes to behavior. Number 1's about surface level conversations. Well, if you read more, if you do more stuff, you'll have more to talk about. You'll have, more interesting things about the activities you do.
Yeah.
Number 3, putting off personal goals. If you're working on yourself, there's going to be a lot you can, talk about and share with your partner. Same with hobbies and, doing stuff for yourself, whether with them or with other people. Doing literally everything together, well, that can be resolved by going off and, doing a personal class, going and doing yoga by yourself, going for long walks in the mountains, something like that.
I think that a big mistake that I see a lot of the time is like expecting that relationships are easy or like they're going to be good forever because that's what you see in like movies. When the vast majority of the time it's like you see one fight in an entire movie. And it's like, oh, they don't want to share their feelings with each other, but now they're sharing them, and they're like, well, this person, like, they're not getting vulnerable, basically. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the movie, they're like, oh, happily ever after. But you don't see, like, maybe in 10 years they get a divorce or something. You know what I mean? So it's like kind of hard to like put these unrealistic expectations on your own relationships in real life if you don't know what happens like after the happily ever after. So I would say that like the biggest mistake that I see is you go into a relationship expecting this happily ever after and you guys are just fundamentally different. Or you go into a relationship and you're not ready to be vulnerable. You don't want to put in the work to a relationship. You're not addressing your hurt feelings. You know what I mean? You don't want to listen to the other person. You shouldn't be in a relationship if like the relationship is just based off of, for instance, attraction towards the other person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues in media is there's a lot of things about relationships that can't easily be depicted. If you have a movie that's a love story, it's going to use a lot of visual and storytelling shorthand to depict the love story. It's going to cut out a lot of the monotony, you might say, that comes in relationships. A lot of the time it might be you two making dinner together in your kitchen. It might be you two sitting on the couch. One of you is reading a book, the other is, on their phone. It might be two of you, sitting in silence as you drive places to go do things. That seems obvious that's a part of the relationship, but movies just cut all that out. Every single scene in a movie has to be them doing something exciting,
Yeah.
playing paintball at Coney Island. It's them hiking in the woods. It's them, pretending that they're a couple and shopping for furniture at IKEA. It's always, action and activities and excitement. And there's never any of the downtime that's less intense. And I think that a lot of the downtime's important. Like, I mentioned that Uma Thurman scene in Pulp Fiction where she talks about the importance of silences, and you can really care about someone if you're comfortable just being in the same room of them, not, communicating and having a conversation. And I think a lot of that's true. I don't know where I was going with this.
I don't know either, but you sounded really confident.
I appreciate that. Yeah, so again, I would say, okay, yeah, so movies, of course, have to adopt this, visual and storytelling shorthand in order to accomplish the goal of the audience being like, oh, they love each other. And I think that's very misleading because people who absorb this material think they want a relationship because the relationship is where you go have couple fun at IKEA. Not a relationship is this combination of events, this combination of life activities, some of which will be more boring, some of which will be more exciting. But it does set unreasonable expectations about the experience they're going to have in a relationship. And I think people can quickly sour when they're like, oh, it's not all fun and excitement. I actually have to have tough conversations with people. I actually have to do things and plan things. I don't know. That's kind of where my head is at right now.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think one mistake that a lot of men make is, and I'm going to use this term and cause some controversy.
Do it.
They leave the emotional labor to their woman partner.
I would agree.
This is for heterosexual relationships, but if we haven't used the phrase emotional labor before, it's the idea that there is a lot of work that women do in heterosexual living arrangements. I'm sure this happens in homosexual living arrangements as well, but it's a little easier to identify the problem in a heterosexual setup. Where it's not just women do more chores around the house, it's also they have to kind of mentally keep track of so much more than men do.
Yeah.
Things like remembering when people's birthdays are, remembering to purchase gifts for individuals, scheduling events with friends to keep things together. And a lot of the time, the guys kind of off-source that responsibility to their partner.
Remembering where the milk is in the fridge.
Remembering where the milk is in the fridge. Right? So, like, they kind of always have to be on and present throughout the year doing all these things while the guy can, just forget about it. And so I would say, gentlemen, if you feel that your relationship is stagnating and no longer is exciting, maybe plan more things yourself. Maybe do more things. And I'm not just saying, like, events outside the house. I'm saying, like, within the house, too, figure out if there's responsibilities you can take. Because it turns out if your partner has less, like, random bullshit to, like, worry about... they might be able to spend more time with you. This is crazy. They might be more mentally present.
That's
they might be
wild.
more interested in spending time with you, given that you're proving yourself to be a competent individual. Call me crazy. So yeah, I do think boredom happens in relationships. I think that's like perfectly natural. I don't think that's something that people should feel bad about. But I do think that if that's the case, you need to think, how can I kind of restore that level of excitement? How can I get, people more interested in me again? And the reason I'm not just saying excitement, I'm not just saying like new things as if I think that's the panacea. There does appear to be scientific research that backs that up. Are you familiar with dopamine, Naomi?
I am familiar with dopamine. I have it in my body right now.
Do you know how dopamine works?
It's a chemical reaction.
Well, it's a chemical that's produced by your brain when you encounter new things and or pleasant sensations. And the idea is that your brain wants to train your body to do things your body likes. And so it'll release a pleasure chemical when your body does things that the brain thinks is important. Now, there's certain activities like you can do that the brain releases more or less dopamine for. And so there's like some things built into the human genome that it will, cause pleasure to occur. And one of the big things is novelty. And research experiment after research experiment shows when people are exposed to novel stuff, and by that I mean, things they haven't seen before, new images, new songs, new movies, their brain releases more dopamine than to things they've already seen before. Now, have you ever noticed that, like, when you first hear a song you really, really like, it's just an absolute banger and you can't stop playing it? And after a couple of weeks, you're like, not so much anymore. You still like it, but like not in the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly why dopamine is released in smaller and smaller amounts after you've consumed the same thing over and over again. Your brain gets trained and no longer is like, oh, this is new and exciting. And I do feel relationships are very much the same way.
Yeah.
If you start doing the same thing over and over and over again, the things that initially brought you pleasure, like hugging your partner, like, going out on a date to a fancy restaurant, may not bring the same amount of pleasure anymore. It's not going to feel as good for you mentally as it did the first time. And you will still, I think, have pleasant memories of that first time. But in the moment, you're going to be like, I don't feel the same way I did. Do I still have the same feelings for this person than I did in the past? And again, I think this is a perfectly natural process. And the way of getting around that is by mixing things up. If you're going out on dates, don't go to the same places over and over again. It's okay to have like favorite places, but definitely try to, mix in something completely different every so often. If you really, really like, Chinese food, maybe try Indian food. Maybe there's like a new food truck that's, parked 5 miles away from you and you decide to go walk to it. Maybe you haven't seen a movie in the theaters for years and you decide to go to a movie in the theaters, but you don't buy popcorn, you buy only Raisinets.
Spider-Man's out this week.
I could care less. It's...
I don't mind it.
You don't mind it.
I don't mind it.
I find it inoffensive. I guess what it represents is more concerning to me, this whole, like, Disney owns all media.
Yeah.
You can't really find any media that isn't, like, controlled by one of the top 5 media companies. And it's disappointing to me that so much smaller art is inaccessible or not being produced these days. Don't want to go off on a tangent, though.
I haven't been to a movie since my 19th birthday.
I am trying to go with Lauren to Licorice Pizza in theaters. It's the newest Paul Thomas Anderson film. I love Paul Thomas Anderson. I greatly enjoy him. We have not seen a movie in theaters yet, so it'll be
How long has it been since you've seen a movie in theaters?
I want to say I saw the newest Tarantino film with my last roommate.
Oh.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was okay. I thought it was one of the weaker films.
Did I see that in theater?
Yeah.
Wait, I take it back. I think it was like May of... No.
Well, here's something interesting.
No, that's
It
false.
really, really felt like a Tarantino film, and I thought that was a weakness. And I'd argue dopamine might play a role there.
Yeah.
Because when a filmmaker does like something different the first time, everyone's like, "Oh my god, I haven't seen anything like that before." When Pulp Fiction first came out and had these kind of skewed narratives and like actors having these long monologues about media and quarter pounders with cheese, that was exciting and different.
And feet.
It was weird. Oh, and feet, lots and lots
Yeah.
of feet. And even the second or third time he made a movie that was similar to that, people were still like, "This is different and weird. This director has a style. Tarantino is kind of cool." But after he's done that 8 times in a row, you're
and
like,
so many feet.
and so many feet, you kind of sour on. I think some people are still like very much, up on that. They're like, "Oh, this is good," but I don't know. For me, I thought some of his most creative work was like his first couple of films. I really like Jackie Brown, which was like a rebooted commentary on blaxploitation films. No one's seen it. I'm not pretending it's the greatest film in the world. It's very flawed in a lot of ways, but it was different enough that I was like, this is creative and fun, and I want to see more of this. But yeah, to my point, if you feel your relationship isn't doing so well, I think it's worth trying new stuff. And that brings us back to our main topic of the day, which is setting goals in the relationship.
Ooh.
Because again, I think one of the problems couples have is they're just like, I have a partner now. We don't need to really do anything together. We're clearly in love. We're always going to be in love. That's never going to change. And I think people change. That's the problem, right? You don't spend 24/7 with your partner. You're out in the world. You're interacting with people. You're being exposed to new stuff. And I think it can be frustrating when you want to see different things from your partner. You want to see how they can grow and continue to thrive, and they just don't. And so I think it's worth talking about, the types of goals that we're forming and how to form successful goals for yourself. So I do want to skip a little bit down, and I can't find where that is. I don't think I included that article in here.
It's
Here's
at the
something
very end.
novel that I should do next year, which is
I think it's at the very
Plan
end.
Better. Very bad end?
I think that's what you're looking for.
That's not what I'm looking for. Okay, well, I will re-find what I'm looking for right now. What I'm looking for is the explanation of SMART goals. Are you familiar with SMART goals, Naomi?
I don't know what it's like a smart home, isn't it? But it's in goal
It's
form.
exactly like a smart home. Okay, so the idea is a lot of people set goals on an annual basis. Every year in December or maybe early January, they come up with a list of things that they want to do in the coming year. And often, more likely than not, they either forget about their goals or give up on them really quickly, after a month or two.
Yeah.
There's a big surge in gym memberships at the beginning of the year.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, that drops off. I don't know if that's going to be true with COVID, but, we'll see. People seem to have thought we've gotten past COVID, which is, fundamentally untrue. But the idea is, if you want to have successful goals, you should structure them in a specific way. You should make them, quote unquote, SMART. And that is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound or time-oriented. So what are SMART goals? Well, SMART is an acronym you can use to guide your goal setting. Its criteria are commonly attributed to Peter Drucker's management by objectives concept. The first known use of the term occurred in November 1981 in a fascinating issue of Management Review by George Duran. Since then, Professor Robert S. Rubin from St. Louis University has written about SMART in an article for the Society of Industrial and Organizational Psychology. He stated that SMART has come to mean different things for different people, as shown before. But the idea is, and this applies for your personal and professional life, if you structure your goals in this way, it's much more likely that you'll actually achieve them. And that's really important because a lot of people have goals. A lot of people have dreams and aspirations that they just never actually reach at the end of their day. So what does it mean for a goal to be specific? Well, the goal should be simple, it should be sensible, it should be significant. It needs to be something where if someone else were to hear it, they'd be like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. It shouldn't be like, I want to run more, right? That doesn't tell us much. What is more? Maybe you're already a marathoner. Maybe you already run Ironman. Does that mean you want to run 500 miles a day? What exactly are you trying to say?
What is more?
So I would say if you're trying to make a goal that's specific, that involves around running, you should be like, I want to get to the point where I can run 10 miles in one stretch. People know exactly what you're talking about, right? It's specific, it's simple, it's sensible, and it's significant. It's clear, this is something people want to focus on. It's also measurable. Measurable meaning that it's something you can quantify. It's not like I want to be better at X, right? I want to be better at love languages. What does that mean, Naomi? Tell me what you think that means.
I want to eat all the aphrodisiacs, and then I want to give someone a gift, and then I want to give someone a hug.
Chocolate, tomatoes, oysters, everything. Yeah. So measurable should mean, there's some kind of measurement you can apply to it. It doesn't have to be like a number measurement. I'd say, in terms of fitness goals, it's really helpful to have like specific measurements. Like I want to go to the gym 100 times. I want to run 10 miles. I want to lift 150 pounds in my, overhead press. I think you can also have it measurable as measured by other people in your life. I want other people to think of me as a better partner. I want other people to, compliment me for how I've grown as a parent. I want other people to, say behind my back how much they, are jealous of my relationship style. I don't know.
Damn.
I would say that's not necessarily measurable unless other people are informing you, but you can also understand how it could be measured.
Last week, I was talking some mad shit about how you were such a great partner.
Damn. I hope people talk mad shit about how great I am as a partner. Goals should also be achievable. They should be something that's actually attainable. This can vary, but I think a lot of people are like, I'm going to lose 100 pounds this year. And if you look at all research about how much weight people lose, there's a tiny, tiny fraction of people who can lose that much weight. I mean, it helps if you weigh like 500 pounds to start, but... Well, it does. It's a little bit easier as a percentage of your body weight. If you weigh 100 pounds, it can be hard to lose 100 pounds.
Okay,
keep
going.
But yeah, it needs to be achievable. I think it's good to set early life goals where you're like, I want to be an astronaut or something. It's less clear
in this economy
that there's limitations. But I think it's maybe a little unrealistic to be like, I'm going to go to Pluto this year on a rocket ship. Yeah, I don't.
NASA just touched the sun.
Yeah. What?
NASA just touched the sun.
Why?
Because they were like, we're trying to figure out how it was made because they've only have theories about it. And so just like they did with the moon, they decided they were going to go and get as close to the sun as possible. And then that was their goal for 2021. And
I take it back. I'm sorry,
goal.
NASA. That was your smart goal. It's achievable. It's specific. It's measurable. We touched the sun. Great. Glad for you. But yeah, like it needs to be something that's actually realistic to an extent. It needs to be relevant as well. It needs to be reasonable. It needs to be resourced. It needs to be results based. It should somehow tie to like things that you care about. Some people will look at lists of other people's goals and steal stuff. And unless other people's goals like actually align with your interests, I don't feel that's a useful thing. The important thing is your goals should actually matter to you. Because if they matter to you and align with your other life interests, it's going to be easier for you to make time for them, and you're going to care about accomplishing them more. You know, if someone else wants you to lose 100 pounds, you're not going to care as much as if you personally want to lose that weight. If someone else wants you to be a better partner, it's not going to matter as much as you wanting to be a better partner, right? So it needs to be something you actually care about. And finally, it needs to be time-bound. It needs to be time-based, time-limited, time-cost-limited, time-sensitive. It needs to be something where not only do you know what the final outcome is, as in it's measurable, but also you need to know when you're going to have achieved that final outcome. You know, by May 31st, I'm going to have a draft of my book done. By December 31st, I'm going to have given $100,000 to charity, right? Like, these are specifically time-bound things. Now, if you set yourself too intense of a time limit, maybe you're not making it realistic. So all 5 of these do have to interplay. They need to be specific,
at the same
measurable,
time,
achievable, relevant, and time-bound. If you cut out any of them, it's not going to be as effective. There has been the argument that the SMART acronym is too limited, and so some people have proposed you change it to SMARTER, including evaluated and reviewed. And so by that, you should get someone else to evaluate you on a consistent basis and see whether or not you're reaching your goals. Because maybe your brain's going to start saying after a while, well, you know, you're not going to the gym as much, but you're making such great progress. Maybe you don't need to. And then, you know, you slowly stop going. And then at the end of the year, you're nowhere near where you wanted to be. Get someone else who can, you know, give you feedback consistently. And I think that's really important if you want to achieve goals too, is letting other people know so you kind of have that commitment already made in public. There's some pressure there. And then finally, review to have someone else, you know, assess whether or not you've reached the goals you wanted to reach at the end of the year. Don't do it yourself, or do it yourself if, you know, you're embarrassed and don't want to discuss this stuff with people. But it does help. Thank you, Naomi. It does help if you're looking at those goals with another person to kind of objectively determine, 1, did you structure your goals properly? And maybe that was one of the problems why you didn't achieve them. And then 2, how can you better structure them and benchmark them moving forward if you still care about achieving them? Does that all make sense?
Yeah. I actually learned about the CDC SMART objectives in one of my classes this semester when we were talking about community health evaluations. Mm-hmm. And so just interesting that you're putting this into goals. That was interesting.
Yeah, but I think what's helpful here is, while it was initially introduced as a management tool, this can definitely apply to your personal life, and it can definitely apply to relationships.
Yeah. It's
not something that's limited by, you know, the context of business. It's like crucial conversations. While it was designed for workplaces, it can work just as well in your personal life as well. So, with that in mind, Naomi, I want to talk about our personal goals for the year. And I wonder if you have any of them.
Okay, well, I didn't really have any goals going to this year. I'm going to talk to you
This will
about
be
that.
Quick then.
No, going into like 2021, I didn't have any goals.
Survive.
I was just like, survive, raw dog life. No, I think the only goal that I like definitely did have was I wanted to read more.
Nice.
So,
what a bad goal. How many books? How many books by the end of the year?
I learned this year that it was a bad goal. That was, I think I like to make vague goals so that if I don't achieve them, I'm kind of just like, okay. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so a few of my goals for this year is some professional goals of mine is I'm still like currently in my 3rd year. I'm halfway through my 3rd year at ASU. Out of 4.
3 out of 10.
3 out of 10, yeah. God. Why would you say that? Only good vibes in the universe. Only good vibes in the universe. out of 4 years. So I'm going into my spring semester next semester, obviously. So I'm interning on a research project. So I'm actually like figuring that out right now. I'm in the process of, getting the emails and the meetings and the stuff figured out.
Of course.
I also want to intern at a community health center this year, and keep my GPA high. I did keep my GPA high this semester. So
What's high?
do I have to go into specifics?
You don't, but I would say if you want to set a realistic goal, actually apply a number there.
I will be graduating cum laude. Wait, what's Magna? Is that like 3.9 and above?
I don't remember. This is not something I cared about.
Okay, well, I at least be cum laude.
Look, the thing I cared about, which has decreased in intensity in my mind over time, but still like bothers me. I don't know if I ever told you this. I was on pretty good terms with some of the teachers in my school. And two of them...
Wait, are we talking about ASU or high school?
School sustainability.
Okay.
When I was at
Okay.
ASU.
Okay.
And I was told by two of them, and then a third person with knowledge of the events, that in the end of the year conversations, I had been brought up on a list of like the top 5 candidates for valedictorian.
What?
And one person said I was in the top 3. And the person who did get valedictorian, great guy, but I'm like, so close.
Well, it's one less speech you had to write. You should have just...
I do not envy the people who have to somehow say things other than platitudes on stage.
You should have just pulled a Kanye at the VMAs and taken the microphone away. I'm gonna let you finish.
But first, I think I should have won this year for my album, My Twisted Dark Joel Fantasies. So I don't remember what any of the GPAs were. Cum laude, that's fine. Community health, I think they need people. That's really good. But the reason I care about your grades is I want you to get the best gosh darn internship there is. I want you paid $30 an hour.
I'm thinking about doing an internship out of DC because I'm interested in policy work. So that's also something that I'm looking into. But the reason why I want to keep my GPA high is because I'm planning on applying to master's programs in the next year. So that's so stressful.
So I'm looking at these and I'm thinking, you want to read more. How many books do you want to read? What's a reasonable?
No. That was my goal for this year, 2021.
So we're just cutting out reading entirely.
Reading gone.
Okay, well, what would you say is a high GPA? 3.2, 3.4?
No, mine's like a 3.8 right now.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Thank you.
Keep it at a 3.8. That's good. And then when you say you want to apply to master's programs, are you trying to get into these programs?
Just applying.
I want to get in. Okay.
Just applying. No.
So I would say to that, like, set some sort of goal. Like, how many applications are you going to try to get in? And then, is there like one top school that you really, really want to get in?
52. One for every week of this year.
Excellent.
This next year.
Loving that energy.
So I'm like I mentioned, I guess this was a couple of months ago now. I'm going to be applying to a couple schools in London because that's like my first choice. Like anywhere in London, basically. It's a 1-year program, public health. Why are you...
My disdain for London is well recorded.
Yeah.
It's not a great city.
All I'm going to say is that I want to be based out of Europe, and London has really good public health schools.
I thought you were going to say it has really good insurance.
That too.
I don't know if that's true about London now. It's no longer part of the EU.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, this is going to be a weird time for you. So maybe stop looking at London and look at Germany or
Greece.
Spain or Greece.
Yeah, Greece. Rome?
Ooh.
Oh. Okay, anyways. So that was those are like professional goals. That was my professional goals category. More personal goals. So I feel like in past relationships that I kind of like have pushed the other person to be the best person that they can be and not allowing them like the room to like try to be their own like best person, if that makes sense. Because like I see their potential and I'm like, okay, I can like give you suggestions on how to be the best person, and that can become toxic.
That can become stressful.
Yeah, it's stressful. It can become toxic because if the other person doesn't want to change, if the other person doesn't want to like be the best version of themselves, if they're good where they are, it can, which Joel just said, always be changing, never be stagnant.
ABC.
So that can become really stressful. And I feel like in my last relationship, the other person didn't want to change. And they didn't think that. This is kind of hard to explain. I feel like the other person didn't think that changing was possible as fast as change is possible. So like if one week I was like, I really like gummy bears, and the next week I said like, oh, I really like sour gummy worms, they'd be like, stick to something and
That's
keep
a contradiction.
with it. Yeah, basically.
You can't like two things. Everyone gets one thing they like.
Exactly. And it's like, I feel like I'm not changing like so freaking rapidly, but I do change pretty often. Like you're constantly changing into a new version of yourself. It's kind of like a new season of
Oh no.
What?
You keep going. I don't know
A
where
new
this analogy's
season of
going.
like a TV show.
Okay.
So it's like season 1, season 2. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, that's how I feel. So like, I need a new cast. I need a new
Well, no, I mean, I think
costumes, stuff like that.
Yeah, that kind of happens, and I think is one of the reasons a lot of TV shows go down in quality over time. You know, once you've reached multiple seasons, they try to repeat the same things people like the original series for. And this is a phrase used in TV writing called Flanderization, like Ned Flanders in The Simpsons, who was originally like this kind of innocuous guy who was a pretty, pious Christian and, loved his family and all of that. And over time, every single season, he got like more intensely religious and like more and more grating, getting on people's nerves.
Yeah.
And in the same way, a lot of the Simpsons characters changed that way over time and became like the worst characteristics of themselves amplified. When you're going on, 30 seasons now? Like it's going to be difficult to
35
have
maybe.
meaningful growth when like these people are stuck in time. And like the fact is you can turn on any episode and, see the same things you've grown to enjoy. Marge going, homie? And,
33.
oh boy. God. And Homer, enjoying food and Bart doing mischief and all that jazz. On the other hand, as much as I like give crap to the Marvel films, I think one of the things they've gotten slightly better at in like the recent years is they're playing a little bit more of their formula, right? Like the first couple of Marvel movies in the first 5 years were pretty rote. It's like, oh no, the bad guy's an evil version of the good guy. He has to learn a lesson about friendship.
Scooby-Doo?
Yes, Scooby-Doo meets the Iron Man. That was my favorite Marvel movie. But you see my point, right? Like they stuck to a very basic formula.
Yeah.
And I think one thing they've done, even though they kind of have trimmed down some of the more interesting plot elements, is they're going off in different directions and really playing with narrative structure in some of their more recent films. And I don't think it's always worked, but I admire the fact that they're at least attempting it because they recognize they need to change their formula to appeal to more people. So yeah, personal goals.
Well, basically what I was trying to say is that, like, I don't like to make personal goals going into a new year, like specifically personal relationship, like romantic relationship goals, because I feel like if I don't achieve those goals, like, how some women go into the year, that is so sexist that I just said that. Oh my God. Okay, I just caught myself. You know how some people go into a year and they're like, I'm gonna get engaged this year.
I wasn't aware that was a goal, and boy, that seems toxic.
Well, and they're like not even in a relationship come January 1st. Yeah. So, I don't want to be one of those people. So my main goal for my personal relationships this year, specifically friends, is that I would like to find more good people. I think it's incredibly important to like surround yourself with supportive, uplifting, vibey people. And I think I need more of that in the new year. I think that because of COVID and taking away literally over a year of like my college career and like learning online, it was really hard for me to find those new connections that you're supposed to find in college. And so now I'm just trying to create like a bigger network of people and ensure that like I'm surrounding myself with good quality people.
I'm trying to find the name of it, but you're reminding me when you said like some people start the year trying to get engaged.
Yeah.
There's like an Owen Wilson film coming out soon.
No.
Have you seen that
Is
trailer?
Is he still making films? I didn't even know he was.
I don't hate him as an actor. I
I
love
thought he
him
was,
in
like-
Wes Anderson stuff.
He was good in like Marley and Me. That was like it.
Well, I'm trying to find the film. I don't know when it's going to be released. Oh my God, there it is. Okay, it's Universal Pictures' Marry Me.
No.
And the premise of the film is this famous singer is going to get engaged to her boyfriend live on stage
Yeah.
in front of millions of people. But oh my God, the night of this performance, it's discovered he's been cheating on her with her assistant.
Wait.
And so Owen Wilson is in the crowd at this performance, and she decides she's going to marry a random person in the crowd and picks Owen Wilson instead. Naomi, the reason I bring that up is we need to watch and review this movie and get super drunk while doing it.
Okay, I agree with this plan, but I do think that Owen Wilson is Owen Wilson in every film. One.
Wow.
But two,
Marley and me?
stop. But two, why have you told me about this plot before? Why do I know this plot?
I don't know.
Is this like every single like Disney movie ever though?
Well, it's certainly interesting. It's a twist on an old...
It's certainly interesting.
Okay, we both are very bad at impressions. Let's not push our luck.
Okay, anyways, to finish up what I was saying, I feel like in the past I tried to pressure a lot of like personal relationships when I make goals, and so now I like just try to collect good people. When it comes to romantic relationships, I enjoy.
Certainly, Governor, I'm going at that.
Didn't we literally just say no more impressions?
What street? Read all about it. Naomi sucks at relationships.
That's why I had to psych relationships for this podcast to work.
This is true. Without horrible, long-lasting trauma, we would not be here.
Oh my God, I need therapy. So I enjoy good company.
Tuppence for your thoughts?
Oh my God.
Should we just cut all this out?
But no, keep it in. But I'm not married to the idea of being in a relationship anytime soon. So I think it's important that I'm like fully healed from my last relationship. Obviously, I literally just aired out my dirty laundry. So
you.
So obviously I want to like be fully healed before entering my next one. I think I found many ways to heal. One of them being therapy, another one like taking time for myself and not like pressuring romantic relationships with another person yet. I have to admit that I have been spending time with someone, but it feels more of like a healing relationship than anything else right now. I feel like it's helped me a lot and ensured like a mutual healing because this person's also going through something really similar right now.
Deep breath.
Wow.
Great. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I think those are all important things. I think it would be helpful to... I don't want to put pressure on you, but I think in terms of like romantic relationships, it might be helpful to set yourself some goals. You know, if you feel uncomfortable doing certain things with a partner, maybe you consider progress to be getting to the point where you actually feel comfortable doing those
Well,
things.
those aren't like New Year's resolutions. Those are just overall life goals right now.
And you can do that too. We don't have to say these are only New Year's resolutions.
Oh my God, I'm crying.
We don't have to. We don't have to air this out on the podcast. I agree with you though. I cut this out of the episode outline, but one of the things I was going to talk about was the concept of impossible lists, which is a concept I stumbled across in 2013, 2014 when I started college. But a bunch of bloggers were getting into this at the time. The idea was you set yourself realistic but like hard goals, and then once you achieve them, you set yourself a slightly more intense version of that goal. Mm-hmm. And the idea was you would always be improving and trying to reach higher and higher levels of like success within a certain thing. And like it sounds as though it's like a very Silicon Valley survival of the fittest kind of mentality.
Well,
but it can
in
apply to a lot of
2014, it
stuff.
probably made a lot more sense. Now we kind of look back and
maybe.
we're just like, oh my God.
Well, I mean, the example the guy was giving was like, I want to run a mile. I want to run 3 miles. I want to run 6 miles.
Yeah.
And then, I think last time I checked, he was like up to a half Ironman. But again, it was slowly improving upon himself, not expecting all
It's
at
kind of
once
like
that he reached that
it's
stuff.
kind of like a pyramid. So you have like your base and then you like build up
Yeah.
until you get to your final goal. which is, like,
For me
complete.
personally, that's manifested in the number of books I read each year. Because
Oh
a
my
couple of
God.
years ago, I was reading like 25 books a year. And
Yeah.
this year alone, I've gotten up to 40. So like I keep trying to spend more time, allocate more time.
If you
to
wonder what Joel
consuming
does
media.
in his like spare time, he just reads books. Like he sits on our couch and he either naps or reads a book.
Sometimes both. If you put your head on the book as a pillow, you absorb it through osmosis.
Yeah,
That's something,
exactly.
Readers who don't read a lot won't know. So, I mean, you're good with your goals.
Yeah.
I think those are all important things. We'll workshop them a little. So for last year, I had a couple of general goals, some of which I was successful at more than others, some of which I wasn't. I would have liked to diet a bit more, have more days when I was, not eating carbohydrates. I had a bunch of days when I wasn't eating sugar, but that kind of fell off pretty quickly because there's a
I
lot
don't know
of
why you're taking all of the
tasty,
fun
exciting
things out of life. Because like carbohydrates make life fun.
I would say partially, like, I'm slightly above what I would consider a healthier weight. And I'd like to, get closer to that, especially because when I was super young, I was a kartoffel, and our very, very overweight pediatrician said, "Hey, you're fat." And
it
that
was
stuck
such a
with me.
scarring experience for
Yeah.
him. He talks about it to this day. God, that was like, what, 10 years ago?
He was like 350 pounds, too. Like,
No, he was a very large man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
He was very nice, though.
He was, oh, certainly.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yes, those sort of things leave an impression
They
on
stick with you.
impressionable minds.
Yeah.
I wanted to read a bunch of books. I got up to 40. If anyone's interested, I can talk about some of those that I enjoyed a lot that I did not. I wanted to get better at like fermenting and preserving stuff. I don't know why. It's just something that appealed to me. And so I did a lot of pepper mashes and kimchi and tepaches
Literally,
and
our
sodas.
entire fridge is fermented stuff.
Top shelf mostly. Okay, bottom shelf has the pickled red onions, the cabbage kimchi, and the radish kimchi. So maybe you're not too crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I live here. It's crazy.
I wanted to grow mushrooms. That's something I've always wanted to do.
You did that.
I bought a thing at a farmer's market. There's a guy who goes around farmer's markets in Phoenix and sells mushroom grow kits.
We should go to more farmers markets.
Is that a goal?
That's a goal.
We could set a goal.
Yeah.
That seems like a realistic goal. Jot it down somewhere.
Okay.
A big thing for me this year was securing permanent transportation. I did plan for that at the beginning of the year, and what I was kind of envisioning was getting like a sexy electric Vespa.
I don't think sexy. That's like an oxymoron.
Well, I was pretty committed to the idea. I needed something to expand like my range of travel because like
Range of motion.
biking everywhere is not the best for really doing anything that doesn't involve your immediate vicinity. Given that work and shopping is so close, it makes things easy. But
Yeah.
if say I want to go to a protest downtown or I want to go see Sedona, it's much harder.
I feel like we have a good walkability score on our house that we're living in. Right
Yeah, in this area at least. But again, Phoenix is pretty spread out.
Yeah,
so,
that's very true.
My initial idea again was motorcycles, little scooters. I started shopping around, and those things are expensive. You're talking out like $5,000 to $7,000 for a Vespa. That's about what I paid for my car. My
It's like 12
5-seat
for
Nissan
like
Leaf.
a Harley, like a used Harley.
Yeah, I wasn't looking for. Do they even sell electric Harleys? Wasn't looking for a normal fuel
Next
Harley.
year, probably.
Yeah, so I managed to secure permanent transportation. I fermented, the amount of food I wanted to ferment. I definitely improved my Spanish and German skills. I finished all of Duolingo. I actually, before my vacation, had gotten up to 750 days straight in Duolingo.
Ooh.
If someone asked me to speak Spanish, I'm going to be very bad, but my translation skills were greatly enhanced, and I'm happy for that. I will not say, if you want to learn a language, Duolingo is really good for vocabulary. I don't think it's good for spoken. You're probably going to need to find like actual classes for that, or just someone who speaks the language you can have casual conversations with. And then finally, last thing I wanted to do that I was able to achieve was I did product labels. For a while, I wanted to
That
have
was so cute.
like little branded labels with my face and
Yeah.
Bean's face on them to put on baked goods or candles or soaps or whatever that I made. And I finally did that. And they turned out really cute. It was like vintage, old-timey, like patent medicine style. And I have been sticking them on things, and I will continue sticking them on things. It was lots of fun. 3 things I did not get to, however, is I really wanted to get to doing a handstand. I don't know. It appealed
I have
to me.
never seen you do a handstand.
Well, that's the thing. I didn't practice it.
Okay.
I need to go into the gym's side room and spend more time attempting to balance on my arms. So yeah, I never got around to that. I would say it was not a specific goal because I wasn't setting myself like practice sessions and being like, I will have practiced 15 times and whatever. I've had several ideas for books rattling around my brain for a while, and I never got around to finishing outlines for either of those this year, which was a goal. And then I had some fitness goals, like, certain bench press PRs that I didn't reach. But you know what? I survived the year. I'm perfectly happy with that, and it's given me impetus for moving into 2022. 2022, I've set myself, I think, a couple more specific ones. I'd like to lose some weight, get close to my goal weight. I'd like to visit the gym or do some exercise at least 100 times throughout the year. I want to make vinegar. I had some really, really good vinegar when I was abroad, and I want to start doing that at home. It seems like a weird thing, but vinegar is basically just spoiled wine, so it's easier than you think.
Spilled wine.
Spoiled wine. It's like kombucha without the flavor.
Yeah.
Well, the sweet flavor.
Yeah.
I want to do more soap making and canning in preparation for the apocalypse. I did a trip last year, and I'd like to do something else, maybe not as big, but just getting out of Arizona, seeing the world. I saw Venice before it's completely flooded. Maybe I need to do a bucket list of other places around the world that are going to be
We
decimated
should
by
do
climate
like
change.
flight alerts. You know how you can do that, like on like you can set up like destinations,
That's
and then
not a
when
horrible
there's like
idea.
a very low rate, but then it's kind of like you kind of just have to get in your car and go to the airport, kind of thing.
You know, I spent some time in Hawaii, and I could go back to Hawaii. They do direct flights from Arizona these days.
Put mom in your suitcase; she'll love you.
I believe the cheapest time of year is February.
Interesting.
Food for thought. It's coming up.
Food for thought.
It's time to get a bidet, Naomi. We're gonna reach this goal. Are you just got? No, you don't like?
Why?
You've never wanted a bidet?
No.
Maybe this is too much to share on a podcast. I want to do some pull-ups, read some books, visit Monument Valley, drafts up some stuff, clean all the books off my table, having read them all, and get really good at tarot readings. Yeah, just some general stuff. I have more specific outlines. That was the stuff I figured I was worth sharing. But then I talked to Lauren about things that we wanted to do. The conversation was prompted when she was scrolling through my phone and saw one of my lists that had goals on it. And all she saw when she was scrolling through it was drive a boat. And she was like, I want to do that. So we're going to go find boats somewhere and drive boats around.
Oh, probably like
Lake Pleasant, Lake Powell.
Yeah, I think maybe even Canyon.
Yeah, I mean, Tempe Town Lake has like kayaks. That's not the same.
No.
I want the power of a car
Yeah.
motor propelling me through the water.
Okay, idea. Hawaii.
Oh, don't tempt me. That'd be cool. We both agree that it'd be good if we had more conversations about different aspects of the relationships. We've had awkward conversations before, and I think we're pretty good at it, but there's still a lot more I'd like to know about her. And then finally getting good at sushi.
Oh my God.
I used to work at a sushi restaurant, and I was pretty good in industrial sushi production.
Yeah.
But doing it at home with a non-industrial rice maker and less than stellar ingredients might be a little harder. But yeah, I want to get good at making good sushi rice and rolling sushi again, and making good vegetarian sushi, which is important because so much vegetarian sushi absolutely sucks. That's something we're going to work on.
This is all code for he wants to roll a couple joints. He just wants to learn how to roll some good joints.
I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, but someone was posting like a mathematician's guide to food classifications.
Okay.
And so they had like a cube, and depending on what colors of the cube are painted, that indicates like the type of food it is.
Okay.
So if the bottom of the cube is painted only, that's like a two-dimensional food, and so that's always going to be toast. And if the top and the bottoms are painted but nothing else in the middle, it's going to be a sandwich. And if the top and two sides are painted, it's a hot dog. And so it was a way of classifying stuff. But per this classification, sushi, which is 4 sides of the cube painted, is, any food that's contained within 4 sides. So joints are all sushi. Yeah, so we've set ourselves some goals. I think it's important to go out and do some stuff that's exciting. I have not formally discussed some of the things I want to do with her, because I want, again, some degree of excitement, even if she's listening to this podcast episode. But yes, we are attempting to broaden our horizons and do things we're not accustomed to. Now, for our listeners, who I'm sure are listening because they want to get people either improve their own relationships or get into a relationship, I did stumble across an article that I think we'll finish out on, which is from eHarmony discussing which hobbies make you more attractive to the opposite sex. And unfortunately, if your only goal is getting a relationship, this is probably some data that would interest you. I think you should only take these up if it actually genuinely interests you, because most of the time you'll start doing this thing and be like, I don't actually care for it. But yeah, there's some actual research done on the things mentioned in people's dating profiles that will make it more likely people will message them. Naomi, do you have any guesses before we get into this article?
Oh, so many hobbies. I know that politics is a big thing when it comes to...
Oh, God, no.
No.
Like, I don't want to date someone who's always talking about politics. I want someone who's informed, but not
That's
like
what I mean.
A hobby is politics.
No, not hobby. It's just like I'm naming things that are like common. Okay. Politics, dogs.
Is that a hobby?
I'm naming things that
okay.
people are attracted to on profiles.
Dick pics?
Obviously. I
Yeah.
don't think you can post those like on
Probably not.
your dating app. Okay,
Not the
those are my
dating apps
guesses.
you
Those are my
use.
guesses.
Okay.
My guesses.
So, according to eHarmony's article from December 24th of 2018, we are almost 3 years away from that, by the editorial team of eHarmony, they looked at literally millions of communications between their members and then tried to find correlations in the interests mentioned on their dating profiles to come to some interesting conclusions. They say, quote, women want a well-traveled fitness fanatic who loves the theater, while men desire a cosmopolitan photographer with a passion for exercise. We've examined millions of communication between eHarmony members and found that men who listed traveling, exercise, theater, dancing, and cooking receive most interactions from women online. Outdoor interests, politics, pets, photography, and watching sport make up the remainder of the top 10 most attractive interests. For women, exercise is the most desirable pastime, followed by photography, travel, art, and dance. Politics ranked at number 6, followed by outdoors interests at 7, cooking at 8, and learning and music at number 9 and 10, respectively.
I wonder if I like change my my interests to something like these, like specifically nothing like I would say 2 out of maybe whatever 5 of these interest me, right? If I just those were my interests, see how many matches I got, like on Bumble or something.
I don't know. I'd say it's worth a try. And there's not enough like scientific assessments of, how to do better in dating, I think. So yeah, they looked at this. I thought it was a little disappointing that men were most attracted to women who said they liked to exercise, though women that's only second behind traveling for men. So clearly everyone's deeply judgmental of the opposite sex.
The thing is that like I understand, like I have a lot of friends that are my age that like are super into like going to the gym and stuff, but then there's also the people that are into the gym but don't go to the gym.
I get that. It's easy to list things on your profile. It's easier to list it on a profile than it is to actually follow up. Most attractive interests for men to list on their profile. These are the things that make it more likely people will message you. Number 1 is travel, and then exercise, theater, dancing, cooking, outdoor interests, politics, pets, photography, and, quote, watching sport. For women, the most attractive things that would get men to comment on their profiles: exercise, photography, traveling, art, dancing, politics, outdoor interests, cooking, learning, and music. Exercise being high up, that disappointed me. Traveling being pretty high up on both lists. I think it's kind of shorthand for, look, you have a open-mindedness. You're more likely to go around and embrace new experiences with a cosmopolitan mindset. That'd be my guess, at least. One thing I thought was interesting was a lot of women will say they don't like guys posting fitness pics, like, shirtless photos on their profiles, but they also really like exercise. So I guess the insinuation here is I want to see, like, you playing rugby with your bros on your profile.
Yeah.
But I don't want you to, like, be taking shirtless photos. Because shirtless photos, I think, like, imply straightforward, I want to smash. Right?
Yeah.
And I think like playing rugby with the bros is probably a better reflection that, I do things. I have a social circle. I'm a physically energetic.
I would agree with that. I'm trying to find like a good, like I'm trying to figure out a good medium for that, because obviously like you don't want a picture of them in the gym, but then you can't necessarily.
I have an answer for you.
Go ahead.
Okay. If you scroll a little bit further down, it says the most attractive exercises were also analyzed. For men, the most attractive exercise you can do is rugby, followed by tennis, swimming, football, and military boot camp. For women, the most attractive thing they can do is football, followed by swimming, military boot camp, rugby, and running. I'm not sure about football. It might be because men like football. Alternatively, it's a great opportunity to see women tackle each other. I don't know if that's something that appeals to male interests. I imagine it might.
I would want to see like porn preferences based off of states and then compare it to this.
That would be interesting. But again, if you're trying to figure out, what are things women want to see, well, it doesn't seem like they're interested too much in fitness photos. If you like working out at the gym, I would say, get a photo, get one of your friends to take a photo of you like swimming in a lake or something, or, playing tennis, like just a casual tennis match. Maybe, play a touch football with your nephews at Thanksgiving. Something that, makes it clear that you do these things that isn't in like a gated environment that, is designed solely to be more attractive to the opposite sex. That's my suggestion, at least. Maybe someone has a different interpretation. Living 10% and working 11% abroad were both shown to boost levels of attractiveness. 1 in 5 Brits agree that the ability to speak another language adds allure as well. As well as the most attractive interests, the research reveals that pastimes deemed less desirable. The women like men who like the theater, it doesn't hold the same appeal for the opposite sex, who place this pastime among the bottom-rated interests. Women who list, quote, making a difference, were also shown to receive 15% less communications from men online.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the most valuable of surveys, but I would be interested of that, how like putting I support BLM or, I'm marching for abortion rights this weekend impacts, your dating scores. On one hand, I personally find it attractive when people are out doing things that they care about and like putting their money where their political or philosophical beliefs are. On the other hand, if a lot of men who tend to lean more conservative than women oppose these activities, they may find it a turnoff. As well as the most attractive interests, research revealed, read that already. From a female perspective, men who describe going out with friends as a favorite way to spend their free time receive a 14% decrease in communications from women. Boys, Saturdays should not be for you. Interestingly, the same rule doesn't apply for women, with social activity appearing as the 7th most attractive interest in the eyes of men. So, I'm not sure why women are so firmly opposed to men going out with friends. I think maybe it indicates you don't like to do anything but drinking.
No, I think that for me, at least, if I add you on social media or something after we've talked on a dating app and all I see you do is going clubbing or something, and you don't really seem like you always are in a social circle and you don't really have a lot of time for yourself, if that makes sense. You're not spending a night just watching TV or something. That's when I'm just okay, I would rather, because for me particularly, I would rather spend a night in than I would out. Mm-hmm. So I think it just depends on the person, but that's my perspective on it.
Yeah. One last thing, the mention of hobbies more generally was also shown to impact interactions between singles online. The total number of hobbies and interests listed by men has a stronger effect on page views and invites, indicating it's beneficial for them to feature 6 or more hobbies. The converse is true for women, revealing that more than 4 listed hobbies can make them less appealing for men. That I found was interesting.
So the more variation you have in your hobbies, the less attractive you are.
For women.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would guess almost women are looking for a guy who's interesting, who does a lot of exciting stuff, and guys might be looking for women who don't have a social life and can spend a lot of time with them. That's my immediate guess. There's other interpretations, but that's the thing that jumps out at me. Unfortunately, then eHarmony gets into this weird evolutionary psychology discussion of what men are looking for in women, which gets kind of gross. Men look for women who will be the healthy and attractive partner to pass along their genetics, which will create the best possible offspring.
You sound like that
That's
one guy
why we're attracted to good looks. We want to ensure the offspring will be healthy and attractive as well. I want my baby to be so hot. I want my baby to be the most attractive baby in the world.
You sound like that one kid, the annoying kid from Jimmy Neutron.
I don't remember which one. Carl?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When men see that a woman is interested in exercise, food, dancing, and family, it suggests that she will be able to physically carry the offspring. Yeah, great. Thanks, eHarmony. There's a reason no one uses your service anymore. So yeah, that's how I wanted to finish this up. Again, if you are trying to pick up hobbies in the coming year to make yourself more attractive or make yourself more interesting for your current partner, those are the things we would suggest. Again, don't do it if you're just doing it for the simple purpose of smashing. Do it because you actually care about those things, because I think those are fun hobbies. Those are things you can have a lot of enjoyment with. Life's too short to do things simply for the bang, as the kids say.
So just to finish up the episode, we do have some fun episodes coming next year. We have a list going right now. We have a lot of guests planned. So we're going to be talking about dating with disabilities, dating in other countries, dating in busy cities, dating in small towns.
Real life, true experiences. We're going to share it all. We're going to have tough talks with people from the streets. Be real and intense.
The streets of Tempe. Yeah.
The streets of Redlands, California.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we're excited. I think we are definitely going to be introducing a bit more variety into our show to prevent it from stagnating in the coming years, because we take our own advice, believe it or not.
We do.
Yeah, shocking.
We do look at analytics. We do also want to make sure that our content is good for, we're not just making it for ourselves to listen to. So,
well, Okay, so I think this is probably going to be dropping soon. I don't know. We'll probably make an appeal on social media as well. But we would like to get over 1,000 total views on our podcast before the end of this year, December 2021. If you could download a couple of episodes, help our metrics up, that'd be greatly appreciated. Even if you don't listen to them immediately, we would like to see a little more engagement, just so in the first 9 months of our existence, 7 months of our existence, we set ourselves some arbitrary goals and we'd like to reach them. And if you can support us by leaving a review, leaving a really anything in response to the work we do, we greatly appreciate it. That helps us reach more people.
We are over 950 right now, so please help us out.
We're so close. I love you. Thanks so much for listening.
Have
we
a
hope
great
you enjoy
week.
your holidays, whether you celebrate Kwanzaa, Christmas, Hanukkah, candle nights, Joel's birthday, whatever
Joel's birthday.
big Christmas celebration. Do it well. Be safe, but eat, drink, and be merry. We have many thanks for the use of our theme music, which is the song Drop by Ketsa. You can find more of their music online at ketsa.uk. You can also find Date These Guys online on Twitter and Instagram at Date These Guys or visit datetheseguys.org. If you have questions for the podcast or want to be a wealthy sugar parent, send an email to datetheseguys@gmail.com. If you're looking to make an impact in the world, this show strongly recommends Planned Parenthood, a nonprofit organization that provides reproductive health care in the United States. Planned Parenthood provides birth control, long-acting reversible contraceptive implants, clinical breast examinations, pregnancy screenings, prenatal care, testing and treatment for sexually transmitted infections, and abortions. They also do great work for those who are lower income. 4/5 of their clients are at or below 50% of the federal poverty line. Both Joel and Naomi are monthly donors to Planned Parenthood. We hope you will be too.